warm welcome to every one of you. I think I know many of you or most of you, but those I don't, very good to meet you. It would help me enormously if you would put your video on so I can see your faces, please. And if you would mute so that if you are having a conversation with somebody, you can have that in private. So thank you in anticipation for all of you turning on your video and turning on your mute. Much appreciated. Now, a very enticing topic indeed. And I must, as much as James has tried to pump me up here as the oracle on this, I don't want to say that I am the oracle on this particular topic. I do have some ideas, and I am going to be deliberately provocative today, which those of you who know me is very unlike me. So I am going to stir the pot a little bit, but I would welcome comment in the chat group, questions, and I think that many of you would have observations to throw in from your own experiences, because I have a worldview according to one which may not be as broad as it should be. So please chip in comments, ask questions, and hopefully we got time later on to cover those towards the end of the session. So, preserving people and purpose, creating human-centered workplaces. Something that's been on my mind for many, many years. And then it distresses me when you read comments like, or let me ask some questions. Why are levels of employee engagement globally still tragically so low? And they have not improved and even declined in a post-COVID world. One would have thought that we had made some progress learning about humanity during COVID, but sadly not. And you would have thought that during COVID that we understood that people just crave connection, that people really do want relationships, that people now have many more choices than they had before. Clearly, people want a lot more flexibility. And bottom line is that I think that people have discovered that they want to be treated as human beings, not as human doings. And yet, what are we doing in the world of work? What are we doing in leadership? What are organizations doing to come to terms with those realities? And the answer is, whatever it is just not good enough, in my view, at the moment. The second question that has bugged me for many years is that companies say people are our greatest asset. And then why don't we treat them as our greatest asset? And I think it comes as well when we start talking about the people function as a human resource function. To me, a resource is an object of labor, is an object to be used to turn into some kind of production or an object of production. And I think that by dehumanizing even the people department of an organization by calling it human resource, that in itself already is a concern. Another question I have is, to what extent is legislation in our various jurisdictions, countries, a key culprit or something we hide behind in dehumanizing our work environment? Certainly in South Africa, I know there's been this huge drive in pursuit of equity and fairness. But the world over, there's been a drive for a lot more equity in the world of work. And I think that in many cases, this has been legislated, and we now hide behind that legislation and risk losing the individual magic of people, because people are now being kind of all put in bands, and I'll get onto that a bit more in a moment. And I think that the human resource or people departments are now relying too much on process and systems in pursuit of getting equity and fairness to make sure that everyone is graded the same, they're all in the right bands and that in many ways takes out the individuality of people in our worlds of work. So this leads me to some concerns. I think that it starts off, and by the way, I'm having a bit of a rant about human resource departments as the custodians of creating human-centered workplaces, but I'm going to have a rant about leadership and about us as individuals in a moment. So it's not just the one side. There's three sides to this, to fixing this, I believe. But I think from a human resource perspective, human capital perspective, we need to really think very carefully about the systems and processes that we introduce into our organizations. Right from, if we have standardized conditions of employment, it's saying to someone when you join a company, you're just another number here in the system. You're not an individual. I've always wanted to customize a letter of appointment to the person joining my team or whoever I'm whatever role that I've been in. And I think that's really important. I think that the moment we get into grading systems, so that you're this grade on a Paromnes or Patterson scale, whatever it might be, which then leads to salary bands, you immediately become just a number in a system, and it dehumanizes a lot of the people element. And then the dreaded performance appraisal assessment process, which I wrote about recently in a blog post, just to say that it's destructive in so many organizations, and people just really find it not optimal in terms of their own personal growth and development. And I think that it all starts back in our recruitment processes are very sterile. We have the standardized way, this is how we're going to go about recruiting people. And I think that a lot of these human resource processes are in place to protect weak leadership, where leadership hasn't the gumption or ability to stand up and lead appropriately. And what are the manifestations of how does this weak leadership come about? I think that where people are promoted purely on technical ability only. Now, technical ability is important, but if you want a position of leadership, I think it's crucial that the human factor in leadership is vitally important. And that leads to a second one, that people who are promoted who don't care deeply about the people in their care. And if you want a leadership role, you've got to care deeply about the people entrusted to your care. As the saying goes, people join organizations but leave a leader, or leave a bad manager, should I say. Or, sometimes, it can be done constructively, but it's not always. Weak leadership is also when you have a person who needs a structural or a process to do their management function. They can't do it intuitively. They hide behind these processes because HR says, I've got to do this, so I'll do it, not because I really believe in doing it. I think weak leadership is people who can't empathize with their team, who can't see the world don't try to see the world from how those people entrusted to their care see the world, and come at it from a very different angle. Weak leadership are people who just are too busy to connect to their team. They're just too busy doing stuff, or too busy doing their technical work, that they don't have enough time to take on the crucial role of leading and growing people. And as I've said before, weak leaders who view their team members as objects of labor. So I've had a bit of a rant here about human resource functions, and I've had a bit of a rant about people. And you want to say, oh, okay, oh, hang on a second. What about individuals? What is my responsibility as a human being to find meaning and purpose in my own particular role and in my life? And this goes back to this whole question of purpose. I wonder, let me ask a question of you. let me get my question right. I had it all beautifully written down here. Sorry, I've lost my spot. Okay. It's very, very difficult, I'm sure you'll find, in dealing with somebody who doesn't know what they want. Can somebody just mute their system, please? Thank you. If you deal with somebody who doesn't know what they want, it's incredibly difficult because they are hugely indecisive, and it becomes very, very frustrating, as I'm sure you'll all agree. You know, make up your mind. What do you want? Do you really know what you want? And the answer is often no. But I think equally frustrating is an employee who doesn't know who he or she is, or doesn't know who they want to be in life. And I think that we are so busy in life trying to grow careers in terms of what we do, that we don't spend that time thinking about who is it that we choose to be, or who we want to be in life. And, you know, that sense of personal purpose is really important in understanding who we are, what we stand for. Do we really understand our real skills and what is not our skill, what our beliefs, our natural potential is, and what our gifts are? I think we're so busy trying to get jobs and very often trying to sell ourselves in terms of what we can do, that we don't let who we are be seen. And sadly, it's because very often we haven't done the hard work of understanding who we are. Now, just think about it. I think human capital departments have a really important role to play here, because when, as part of the recruitment process, they should be very clearly positioning what the purpose of this organization is. Who is this organization, and who does this organization choose to be? What is its purpose? Because as an employee coming in, or potential employee coming in, I need to understand clearly what I'm signing up for in terms of what this company's contribution to society is to be, not just what do they want out of me in terms of a job to be done. And that maybe human capital departments could help people understand in that interview process, well, who are you? Who's the real you? Not just what skills or capabilities have you got. Now, I know some might do some psychometric testing, which might aid this process to help you understand it. But I certainly remember applying for a role many years ago and literally had the job, but then I had to spend 8 hours with that organization's human capital department, a very forward-thinking organization, doing psychometric tests. And they eventually determined that who I really wanted to be and who I was best suited to be in life did not suit what this job was about. And it was a wonderful experience to say, well, hang on, we have to rescind our offer of work here, because we're doing you a disservice by bringing you into this role. And I found that a hugely edifying process, that very often we try and sell ourselves into on our skills into things that is a dead end for us because it's not suited to who we want to be in life. So it's an intrinsically vulnerable path to identify and then choose to live your authentic purpose. But that's the courage we need to have if we want to try and address human-centered workplaces, because what a human-centered workplace to me is one that allows you to live out the propensity to be the real you, to allow you to live out who you should be. And if you can then hook up with a leader who understands that and who then allows you to grow to be the leader you want, or the person you want to be, that's where you start getting huge levels of engagement and job satisfaction and commitment. And I know this all sounds very idealistic, but I fear that if we don't do this hard work, if we don't really understand who we are or who the people coming into our employ are, we run the risk of not of just becoming somebody who the organization wants us to be. And we end up becoming schizophrenic in many ways because we try and be who the organization thinks we ought to be. And that's in conflict with who we really want to be. And I realize in a country like South Africa, where jobs for many are very difficult to find, and the right job is very difficult to find, that we are loath to just say, well, this, I don't suit this, doesn't fit me, let me toss this up. But that's why we stick in jobs, because we need to stick in jobs, because we need the job, to pay the rent and do all the things we need to do. And I think that's where we start getting the quiet quitting beginning to come in, where people and the level of engagement declines, because we're not really, this job doesn't allow us to grow in who we want to be in life. It doesn't allow us to express ourselves. And we have leaders who want something different from us, or who are not skilled at helping us grow, and or don't have the opportunity for us to be who we want to be in their particular team. And that again is where a leader then needs to say, well, maybe this particular person who's very skilled and is doing an okay job, it's best for them to move on somewhere else, because, or into another role in the company, if there's something that allows them to express themselves far more clearly. So what I'm saying is that there is a tripartite role here, that I think that human capital or people departments need to humanize their processes and procedures and do a lot of work in helping people to grow their sense of purpose and what I'm here for and what life is about for them. As we in Leading with Humanity, or Lead with Humanity, say, the start off point of leadership growth and development is, as Socrates said many years ago, to know thyself, to find out who we really are, because that then we grow our leadership propensity and capability out of who we are. You don't grow your leadership propensity by learning to do more technical things. Those are useful, but leadership is about that connection and growing our ability to connect with other people and impact them. Now, there are those that say that the journey on knowing thyself is a dangerous journey. And the psychologists have a thing called the end of history syndrome, which says that we think already that we're the finished article, and that, in knowing thyself, is this me forever onwards, or is our own journey one of growth? But for me, knowing thyself is also a question of, can you write your CV forward, not on what you're going to do in life, but on who you're going to choose to be in life? And I think that's a very important part of our journey, is if we can say, this is who I want to choose to be, this is how I want to show up in the world. And then to set yourself on a journey to get there. Now, those of you who worked with me would know that I have a concept called field of play, which says that our journey in life to be who we want to be is not a fixed route map, but we create GPS coordinates, if you like, on the destination. This is how I'd like to be seen showing up in the world in the future. And then you create a field of play, which is defined by, on that journey to that, here's what I'm not going to do in life. Here's the kind of things I'm not going to get sucked into. Here's the kind of roles I'm not going to get sucked into doing. But I'm open for all sorts of opportunities inside this field of play. And defining the boundaries of what's going to take you outside of who you want to be is a very important role as well in the journey of self-discovery. So once you've got that, and then you embark on the journey and just be open and explore, that allows you to define more and more the real you, and allow that real you to emerge. Or as Michelangelo said many years ago, he'd just chip away everything that's not David when he was carving his wonderful statue. We've got to chip away everything that's not us, and not allow the roles we play in organizations to foist things onto us, to add layers to us that are not us, because that's going to mean we become an object of labor, and it's going to dehumanize our workforce, and we're going to lose our sense of purpose. So I noticed the chat room's been, okay, there is one comment on chat, so I'm hoping now for some lots of questions. Okay, so thank you, Frank, for that, for confirming that the personalized letter appointment was a very good thing. I totally agree. So where do I go from here? Well, I think there are ways that organizations can start putting more humanity in to our workplaces. And it starts with connecting, and it starts with addressing disengagement by helping teams understand that purpose of the organization, and helping them buy into a common picture and how they are actively contributing to that bigger picture. Because if I just do a job and I don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, it's very demotivating, I believe. So crucial that we must get that far more engagement, having conversations one-on-one, not in a formal performance assessment process, but over a cup of coffee, in whatever format it might be, just to connect. How are you doing? How's it going? Are you being able to find self-expression in your role? Is this allowing you to be who you want to be? And that is important, that we open up that vulnerability in both the conversation from the leader and, sorry, is that a question? Sorry, Tembo, can you just put your mute on mute, please? Sorry. It's that one-on-one. How do I help you? How do I really work with you? What do you need? What do you need from me as a leader to help you express yourself better? Am I giving you the opportunities that allow you to really grow and develop as you should do? And you know, this is heresy to many leaders who say, no, damn it, just get on and do your job. That's all I want, and I'll evaluate you on how you, on the outputs. And that's where I think the performance appraisal process became really unstuck right from the start. I think feedback on how people are doing is unbelievably important, but it is, as the old acronym go, it should be FAST feedback, which is frequent, accurate, specific, and timeless. In other words, we should, it's not a case of, once a year I'll think up the things that you did 7-8 months ago that I didn't like. It's things that need to be fed back. And just remember the golden rule of, some people say 5, some people say 10-1. Find 10 things that people are doing well, that are find good things that they're doing before you find things that could be opportunities for improvement. The interesting other observation is that the more we tap into being genuinely ourselves, the more we can contribute and the more we're able to give. It's not being selfish by saying, this is who I am, this is how I want to show up. But the more we are able to live our real purpose in life, the more we are actually able to offer, and the more people will find value in us because they know how to really connect into us. So human capital departments become far more humane. Let's really work extremely hard on leadership. Leadership is, as we say, is about connecting. It's about learning the ability to influence. It's understanding everybody influences from different ways, and that comes in different forms. Respecting that people are very, very unique and individual in the way they express that leadership, and understand that if you want the leadership role, you've got to serve. You've got to be giving of time, giving of advice, giving of assistance, giving opportunities, giving feedback continuously to those entrusted into your care.